Pembrokeshire, this is Salam Radio.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your very own Dr Shabina Asad Qayyum for Salam Radio and the Body Health and Mind Show, 106.2 FM. Well, actually, Salam Radio 106.2 FM and the Body Health and Mind Show, which is part of that Salam Radio 106.2 FM. It's an absolute delight to be back after many weeks. I do disappear off the radar for a couple of weeks, and I always say, I'll be back with another show. And then something comes in between. But I was looking at one of my other shows the other day, and I realized that I would always say on it that I will always be part of Salam Radio, and I'm saying that to you today. It doesn't matter. When I'm old and grey, I'll always be part of Salam Radio. So yeah, it's up to you, the listeners, to make sure that we stay that way and that we are around. And my name's Dr Shabina Asad Qayyum. I happen to be one of the presenters, one of the many wonderful presenters for Salam Radio, and also a GP at Central Medical Centre here in the city of Peterborough. And once again, it's a delight to join you. Now, before I move on and introduce my most wonderful guest, who I am so glad could make it today after a very busy day working, I wanted to reflect upon our day a little bit, because I think I'm going to start to do that in my shows from now on. And why is it important to reflect upon your day? It gives you the chance to take 2 steps back and see if you could do anything different. Would you? To see if you've actually encouraged someone in a meaningful way, if you have taken any positive steps that have made your day more rewarding, and if you had the chance to, what would you change about your day? And one thing I want to highlight is social media. Since we've become exposed to the world of virtual reality, human beings are very used to having something known as instant gratification on social media. And I often see that we will see lots of posts, especially on Facebook, whereby people have the freedom to give their opinions, whether or not you are well versed in a topic. And sometimes there can be negative comments, and sometimes there can be positive comments. But often the owner of those comments doesn't understand fully the repercussions of the things that they're saying or the impact of the reader. And your reader may comprise of thousands of people across the globe. They might be your next door neighbours, they might be your family or friends, they might be somebody that you don't know at all. But my message for today is, at the beginning of this show, please reflect on your actions on social media and take 2 steps back and say, could I do anything differently? And I just want to leave you with that thought. Now, for the real start off. So, if you've joined me on Salam Radio, I'd like you to tune in or call me and participate in this wonderful show on 01733 602 133, or you can text on WhatsApp on 07411 191062. Comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And yes, we'll interact with you. We'll answer your questions. And you know what? Today we've got an absolutely amazing guest, and I'd like to introduce her. She is the wonderful, I call her my friend, my sister. She's a confidant. She's just an amazing lady, inspirational. And I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum to Sister Rani. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And welcome.
Thank you very much.
So I'm not going to talk that much because I almost feel like sometimes I'm stealing the show. But what I want to say is that I've been following your journey, Sister Rani. And what I've seen is that you have embarked upon a profession, podiatry, being a chiro practitioner and a foot care specialist practitioner.
Yes.
And you didn't take the decision lightly, but I've almost seen you as a woman who has smashed those glass ceilings. And I want to say this in public because that's how I see you, and that's my experience of you. And I thought it was very important to call you today to talk about this whole field, talk about yourself going into this field and your experience, and that anything is possible in achieving your wildest imagination and dreams alongside that. So first of all, well done and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
And tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you develop an interest in this area. What do you call this specialism?
It's all about feet. My name's Ronnie. I'm a mother, grew my children up single-handed, and encouraged them into education, something that I wished I was able to do, but I wasn't. Those times were different, and I'm glad my children all had the opportunity. They're all professional, and I actually have been working in the care sector for the last 12 years, and I have a friend. She was my manager, called Jenny. She was my inspiration to get me to where I am today.
That's wonderful.
She encouraged me. It took about 4 years for me to agree to what she was asking me to do. She said I was the perfect person to do this job for my community.
Mm.
She says because foot care, apparently we people don't understand the importance of foot care.
Mm.
And she says maybe because I have the language and other reasons that I may be able to help my community. That's what brought me into doing foot care.
It's wonderful because there aren't many like you. I can tell you that right now.
I know a lot of people say to me, "Ugh, why would you want to do this? Feet are disgusting." I've learned that I love feet.
Yeah.
Feet aren't disgusting. Nobody ever has dirty feet. People need care, and it's in their feet that they need the care in.
That's right. And that's why I want to go on to my next point, which is actually, and I think it's really important to understand that this is actually a clinical profession. So it's a clinical field, and doctors like myself will refer to professionals like Rani for patients who have various conditions of their feet. And she doesn't provide, number one, a foot cleaning service, a massage service of the feet, or a pedicure. And that's often mistaken, isn't it, when they sort of have a look at your services?
Yes. Those are usually the first questions people ask. Do you do a massage or do you clean feet? We provide a medical service. We use blades. We use many different types of equipment, including sterilization that I do at home. Once my work is done, I take it all home. Everything has to be sterilized as a dentist would sterilize their equipment.
Wow. And how extensive is this course that you've been studying from? Would you like to give us a little bit of an idea as to what you need to do?
Well, I had to do a lot of coursework. I was computer illiterate. I had the help of my son who supported me. And when I passed my first module, I thought, oh, okay, I can do this. So I started doing all the homework, started doing the studies, started doing my modules. And when I started passing them at the end, with all the passes, I was sent to a 2 weeks clinical training. And I went and stayed in Birmingham in a hotel from 8 to 5 every single day, went for clinical training. They taught us how to work with real patients, how to grow our own business. And I came home and then that was it. I started my own business. I have to say, my friend who encouraged me, I would say she was my mentor. She took me on a week's, I followed her. She showed me how it works, and I was able to do it on my own after that.
That's fabulous. That is really good. I mean, the whole steps that you've illustrated. Would you say that this profession, if an individual, say, would be a woman who wants to get involved in foot care? What would be her requirement? Would she need to be at least conversant? Does she need to be English literate, or what would you say?
I would say English is very important. The knowledge of wanting to learn, and following a lot of guidelines, because there are a lot of guidelines to follow, from things like disposing of blades, the sterilization. It's very, very important, because we're insured. You wouldn't want anybody to come back, there's no dodgy work in this.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's all, but that's true, because you're also a professional.
Yeah.
So, like you say, as well as adhering to guidelines, there are also certain standards by which you set yourself as well.
Yes.
And do you have any professional body that governs you, or that you're answerable to, or you have to do an appraisal to every year, or not?
I have to be insured, and I have to make sure that all the equipment that I sterilize, I keep all the receipts, because at any time anybody can come and check on these, and I have to make sure that all my because I'm mobile, I go to my patients' homes. All the work is done there. After I've done all my cleanliness, I've got to make sure all of that is disposed of properly.
Wow. So obviously adequate steps, and during a busy day, sometimes you can come home and you've got extra additional work to do, isn't it?
Every evening, there's about an hour and a half of extra work. That includes all the cleanliness.
Wow. And you can get ready for the next day.
Because all of my equipment has to be sterilized, put into pouches, and then stored back into my bag, all sterilized.
Wow.
All the equipment.
Wow. And tell me, Sister Rani, obviously, this is something, do you cover the whole of Peterborough? Do you cover beyond?
Yes, I do. I cover the whole of Peterborough. I go as far as Whittlesea, Standground. I have been as far as Huntington Hospital, because I had a gentleman at Peterborough Hospital who practically begged me to come and see him, to come and see, at the hospital when he was admitted in Huntington. So I couldn't say no. I had to go and see him.
No, it's wonderful. Yeah. It really is. And I think that just your outreach, by virtue of your job, working at the hospital as well, is important. It's important to tap into that knowledge. I know I've certainly, when I've looked at patients who have possibly been under podiatry in the past and have wanted care, have suggested that actually I do know someone. And I think all of those of you who have sort of GP surgeries and want to signpost patients for a healthier clinical foot condition, I'd highly recommend Sister Rani, and I'm happy to share those details as well when it comes to that. So that's something that we can definitely do. What are your timings of work?
I start at 9 o'clock, and my last appointment usually is about 4:30.
Okay.
So I give everybody between an hour and a half. I don't rush anything, and everybody gets 100% from me.
I'm sure they do, as I know you to be giving 100% all the time. So it's great.
Thank you.
And I think that your values as well really do extend into your work as well. That whole, as I've known you, you've always been somebody who's been, number one, selfless. Number two, you've always put the other person first. And that really is important when clinical care is involved, because you look at the aspect of, as clinicians, we all look at the aspect of empathy, which is putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Did you recognize the pun? They're putting yourself in the other person's shoes, the feet and everything.
Definitely. That's a good one.
That was a good one, wasn't it? So yeah, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. So you're taking care of individuals as well. And if you're listening in, I have Rani, who works for Rani's Mobile Foot Care. That is her own business, and she provides professional clinical foot services, treatment. That is what it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the need for looking after feet beforehand. So we all know when babies are born, they have this beautiful skin wrapped around their feet. And who doesn't love baby feet?
Everybody loves baby's feet.
I know, they're gorgeous, aren't they? And we all wish that our feet would remain like baby's feet, but that is not to be.
Yes, that's not to be.
Yes, and they grow. And I often think that feet have faces because, and I'm going to laugh at this, I often think that feet have these faces, you know, resemblances of, some of them look pretty and some of them not so. But have you ever had that sort of?
I can honestly say I have never come across what people might say are ugly feet. Feet are beautiful, and we have to look after them.
Yeah, I've got Asim who's laughing in the background
all day.
Asim, our station manager's laughing in the background because we're talking about feet and their cosmesis. But yeah,
they carry our bodies all day, every day. Yeah, if we didn't have those two beautiful feet, we wouldn't be going to all the places that we want to go to.
Yeah.
You know, they carry us everywhere. They carry us to our happiness. They carry us to our sadness.
That's true. And you know what? That's really deep that you say that. And again, I'm going to go back to reflection because in Islam, as we know, we always say that Jannah is beneath the feet of your mother, isn't it? And actually, from that perspective, feet are very symbolic as well and have been throughout the ages. And we often use feet as being, I will never step foot into this house again.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that actually they're incredibly symbolic. They are a strong symbol of strength.
They are.
Of, I would say, what do you call they call it in Urdu, they call it darajat. So obviously the level of an individual.
We use our feet when we walk into a home, when we walk into the masjid, we take our right foot in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody ever says, oh, take your right hand in. We say, take your right foot in.
Yeah. Stepping into. And we often see as well within our, especially Asian demographic, where girls get married and they put their foot into the door of their in-laws' house. And how symbolic that is as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I never actually thought that we were going to touch on this subject, but you see, it's evolved from all of that.
Yeah, that's why feet are beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
we have to look after them.
Yeah. And you've educated me today. If there's one thing I've really learned from this, it's that you've given me a new perspective, because I always, you know, that a lot of our nurses actually do dressings to feet for those people, especially who've got ulcers, etc., because those are, you know, it's a condition that people suffer from. And I look at all those patients and think that if they were able to be mobile enough to look after their feet enough, they would.
They would. Nobody chooses to take their feet into that situation. Those conditions happen due to diabetes, blood pressure, even thyroid. Thyroid dries out the bottom of our feet. People get cracked heels, not because they're dirty, because due to health issues.
Yeah. And I think that it's incredibly important, looking after your feet. So what would you say in terms of sort of when we transition from being a child to an adult, before any illness hits us?
It's to be aware. Look at your feet. Go through your toes. If you feel anything that doesn't feel normal, get it checked out. Go to your doctor. Before I became a foot health practitioner, I didn't know much about who I could go to regarding feet. I thought it was just a doctor. I thought you just go to your doctor, you tell them about it. But you don't need to go to just your doctor. There's other people. Once upon a time, about 5 to 6 years ago, the NHS provided the service that I'm providing. But the NHS don't have the money to provide it. So people like myself, because I worked with the elderly, I saw the conditions. I saw them being left. That was one of the reasons also that I thought, well, you know, there's a need there.
Yeah.
And being mobile, going to them being mobile, because many people can't, are bedbound or can't come out of their homes, or it would cost them between 20 to 30 pounds just to come and see me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really fair, is it?
Mm. And that's the advantage of you providing a
Yes.
mobile service as well. And you know, it's so interesting that you actually touched on that, Rani. The fact that it used to be provided to the NHS. Now, you and I know that there are so many conditions of the feet that are linked to medical conditions, like you said.
Yes.
Diabetes. Actually, long-staying patients who stay in hospital can sometimes have pressure sores,
Yes.
can't they?
Yes.
And when they
can.
come out and they have pressure sores at the back of their heel, they will need care to it. So the actual fact that that service isn't provided to the NHS can have an impact on that person.
Very
And I'm
much
just
so.
thinking,
Yeah.
those feet can become
Yeah.
infected, can't they?
And some people have dementia and other mental health issues where they can't even explain what they're going through.
Wow. That's
I've seen men of an older age who they worked in factories and they've got the really thick toenails. People will think, oh, ooh, that's gross. It's not gross. Those people did not choose for their nails to become like that. A lot of their nails became like that due to steel toe shoes.
wow. And that's exactly. So I had, like, you know, I think that it's brilliant that you've brought this up, because what I want to do in the second part of the show is talk about the conditions that you see, where you think they've come from, how you would treat them. So in your very easy language, because I think it's important that people are educated on this really important topic, and that's what the show was for, you know. So incredibly interesting that you also see people that wear steel cap toes on shoes that have been working in factories and now have these large crusted toenails, which obviously you have to see. And we're going to talk a little bit about what you do in terms of your treatment, because that would be great to have a look at. Because sometimes you have a look at these conditions or you see feet and people think it's a fungal infection, or they go to their doctor and you take nail clippings and they say, well, actually, no, it's not a fungal infection.
No.
It's something else. And I'm often, and I put my hands up to this, left scratching my head as to, oh, well, how would we, you know, treat, all the nurses say, how would we treat that? But now actually I know I could send that to you.
That's why they refer them to us.
Yes. So now I know that I need to send that to you, which is great because I'm learning something every day. And I just think that that's wonderful as well. So do you think that it is worth, and where do you see yourself in, say, 10 years time? Do you want to franchise because you know, you have the potential. I do see a market for this.
I want to provide the best of service to my patients.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the future holds. Yeah. I don't want to look that far. I just want to worry about today and provide the service, leave every patient that I go to rebooking me again, knowing that the service that they paid for was to the best of my potential to give to them.
And I think that I really respect the fact that you're open and honest. You know, there aren't many people who would sit there and say, you know what, I aspire to do this, or I have these ambitions, or I have these plans even. You don't necessarily have to be ambitious. But the fact that you've alluded to very honestly, that you're living here very much for the present.
I'm providing for the present. If I can provide something that will make somebody feel better, then I've done what I need to do.
Which is great. Give yourself a pat on the back for that. It's wonderful. It really is.
I'll leave it to you.
Let me come on. There we go. It's great. I'm enjoying this show so much. So, listeners, if you want to, and I've got some questions for you as well. If you want to participate in the show, pick up the phone and speak to us on 01733 602 133. Text us on WhatsApp 07411 191062. Comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter or Twitch. And honestly, I am going to answer your question. It's great we've got people watching us. It's great that you're here. Welcome on the show, and welcome to watching us, and have some questions in mind. If you want to ask anything foot related, anything at all, please do so. You can ask Rani, how would I do this? You know, we've got a minute to adverts, so it will be worth you having a little bit of a think about how you would like to ask Rani problems about the feet, and if she's able to answer it, she most certainly would. And I think it's also important that we take into perspective the whole symbolism around feet, the ethos behind Rani's work, why she does what she does, and the fact that she's living in the moment. So some really symbolic answers that have come out there, and I don't think she quite understands the gravity of her impact right now, because it really has left me a lot to think about, because we're self-assessing ourselves every single day. So, dear listeners, we are approaching a break. Scratch your heads, think of some questions to ask, because I've got some questions that are saved up before the show that people have inboxed me, and I will see you after the break on the Body, Health and Mind Show.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Masterminds Tuition Academy is for your high schoolers, your something to provers, your subject strugglers and keen learners, your brave jumpers and fist pumpers. Affordable personalised learning plans are delivered through our centres in schools across Peterborough. But not to worry, we also provide online and home visits with flexible timings. Whether it is maths, English, science or 11+, Masterminds is a must. Find us on all socials and visit our website mastermindstuitionacademy.com or call us on 07516 166 003. Masterminds, master the matrix.
मैं महानूर मजीद हूँ और कोट मेरा एक खूबसूरत आशियाना है जहाँ मेरे जैसे हजारों यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों की कफालत बेहतरीन अंदाज में की जा रही है। आएं हमारे सरों पर दस्ते शफकत रखें और इस माह रमज़ान अपने सदकात, खैरात और एहतियात से हमारी कफालत में अपना हिस्सा डालें। अल्लाह पाक आपका दिया हुआ माल अपनी बारगाह में कबूल फरमाए, आमीन।
कोट UK ऑफिस
0300 123 774 court.org.uk.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh cream cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakein.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Asia Restaurant gives you the unique fusion of flavours from Turkey, Iraq, Syria and Iran. Our shish kebabs are grilled on a charcoal barbecue for that authentic taste. Lamb shanks, fresh shawarma, chili kebab, lamb shish, grilled chicken, freshly made baklava and so much more. Eat in or order through Peterborough Eats or Peterborough Grab. Asia Restaurant, 5 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RU. Call us on 01733 562 530. Great prices, great quality. Why not come and find out for yourself? Asia Restaurant, the true taste of the Middle East.
हाँ जी जनाब, आज तुसने किया 12 बजे वे
जराब फैमिली की बाहर खड़ना चाहना या खिलाने पिलाने से सोचना कुथे जाओ
इसी च परेशानी है लिकड़ी गल है। इब्राहिमी बफे रेस्टोरेंट पर जाओ, उते फ्री पार्क करो। उन्होंने मजेदार ते स्वादले पाकिस्तानी, इंडियन, चाइनीज ते इटालियन आय 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 खाने ना ते जोड़ी कोई नहीं, नाले सस्ते ते स्वादले।
ए थे रक्स, इसका मतलब है बटवा भी नहीं होला होनेगा। इब्राहिमी बफे रेस्टोरेंट, वैरायटी ऑफ डिलीशियस डिशेस के अलावा जेलाटो आइसक्रीम एंड वॉफल्स भी करते हैं। वीकेंड्स पर अपना टेबल बुक करवाइए और वीकडेज तशरीफ ले आइए। ओपनिंग आवर्स शाम 5 बजे से रात 10:30 बजे तक। इब्राहिमी रेस्टोरेंट, 63 Sycamore Avenue, Peterborough, PE1 4JP. टेलीफोन 01733 313131।
idea for a show and want to get involved, email info@salamradio.com.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm back. So you just heard there on the advert, if you are interested in advertising a show, get in touch with info@salamradio.co.uk. And at this point, I'd like to give a shout out to our wonderful directors, our selfless directors, our hardworking directors, those that have put their heart and soul into making sure that Salam Radio is a success and it is broadcasted to the Muslim community here in Peterborough. And many of you don't know that Salam Radio was the thought process of 3 people who sat in the mosque one day and said, we need to bring this to our community.
Wonderful idea.
It is. And not just our community, but the huge variety of shows that have now come on board from people from different backgrounds and religions. And Salam Radio's ethos was set upon building bridges with communities, and it has certainly lived up to that expectation. So my shout out is specifically for the wonderful directors. And you know, since 2015, since I've been on here, I've never given the directors a shout out, so I might as well now. But yeah, you are wonderful people, and thank you so much for supporting us all. It'd be, you know, where would we be without you? You've given us the opportunity to be able to bring these shows to the people of Peterborough, and it's something that's quite beautiful.
It is.
It is. And now I've got beautiful Sister Rani here with me, which is great. And guess what? We've got some questions. So I can see there are some wonderful questions, and I've got, just to fill you all in, keep those questions coming. We're going to be talking about them. We're going to be talking about some foot conditions in this last half an hour of the show. Call in on 01733 Shabina 602-133. You can text us on 07411191062 and comment on the live stream as people have on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter or Twitch. So our first question is from Jason McNally. Hello, wonderful Jason, and welcome very much to this show. So Rani.
Hello, Jason.
Yeah, there we go. And we've got a wonderful question. I walk miles. What is the best for blister prevention? Thank you.
Good pair of shoes. I'm not saying that you don't wear a good pair of shoes, but sometimes maybe the ones that we're wearing aren't the right pair. Most of our foot problems to do with blisters usually happen because of ill-fitting shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And think about the socks that you're wearing. Sometimes our socks may be too thick, rubbing our toes against the shoes. That will create the blisters.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you suggest, obviously, fitting shoes, and I know Jason's a veteran.
Oh, okay.
So ex-army, so they've been used to like running miles.
Yeah.
Would you suggest trainers, or would you suggest Doc Martin type of shoes? Or
I would say a good pair of trainers.
Yeah.
Something soft. You can get a good pair of Dr. Martens as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jason, there you go. I hope that has helped. So, best for blister prevention. Do you often get blisters? Because I think that it would be good to understand if you're wearing the same culprit shoes that are causing them.
Even the littlest seam of shoes. We could have a pair of shoes. They could have seams, you know, like when we have a pair of trainers. Sometimes even the seam inside can give us blisters
because it's rubbing isn't it?
Against our skin. Yeah.
And Jason, I think you've got miles to walk, so we've have a look at your shoes. I definitely think that that's a good piece of advice. Once you get the blister though, Rani, what's the best thing to do to cover it, to prevent that rubbing? Is it, I mean, the good plasters in the chemists, or?
I think you can cover it when you've got the shoes on, but when you haven't, then I would air it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Air would dry that area out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that sounds reasonable to me. I hope that's answered your question, Jason. Thank you very much for asking us. Rajabelli, great show. Auntie Rani is so inspirational. There you go. Thank you very much for that. It's great you've been on. Now, I've got the next question. Hi, I'm so ashamed to wear flip-flops in the summer because my heels are so dry and cracked. What would you recommend to address that?
I would say you need me.
Yeah, great.
I would come and support you to giving you advice on how to heal those heels. Yeah, we would work to get them back to a better position, and then I would advise you on what to use to keep them like that.
Great. And do you think, Rani, using a pumice stone is good? You know, you can get these ones that are quite abrasive from the Asian shops, can't you?
Yeah, but I think you would need to try my service, because I don't use stones. We use a foot file. I have a drill that I use, and once I have I use blade. Yeah, so we clear all that area out, and once it's all nice and soft again, we use Flexitol is the best cream to use on your heels.
Yeah, it's got urea in
yes,
it, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's great for people who are diabetic. So, yeah. Knowing the cream, and the best advice maybe I can give you is never apply cream on top of cream.
Oh, right.
Right.
Interesting.
So, say in the morning you've had your shower, cleaned your feet, and you've put on your foot cream. You've gone through the whole day. For some reason, at the end of the day, you haven't had a chance to wash your feet, have a shower. You've come back from work too late, and you want to apply a cream again, but you're too tired, you want to go to bed. Use wet wipes. Wipe those feet, use wet wipes, then reapply the cream.
Right.
Don't apply cream on top of cream. When you do that, it builds callus.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. That gives us, when we say, oh, the skin under our feet is very hard, a lot of that is to do with cream on top of cream.
That's incredibly interesting. Actually, I find that fascinating because there's a theory behind why, you know, there are certain creams that individuals apply to their face as well. And we often hear about the fact that, oh, the molecular weight of this cream is such that it doesn't get absorbed into the skin. And obviously, when you're looking at the feet, you use a more intense moisturizer, don't you? So it would be quite common sense to think that it's not completely all absorbable, and therefore it stays there as a layer, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So if you leave it there, you've invariably got that film, and then you put your cream on again.
I would advise you to please wipe the old cream off before you apply new cream on.
Okay, that's very important. So wipe the old cream off before you apply the new cream on. I hope that has helped you, to the person or the listener who has put forward that question. Also, we've got another question. I think it's from the same listener, so thank you very much for interacting. And also, does Rani remove verrucas?
Yes, I do.
Oh, lovely. Would you tell us a little bit about what a verruca is?
Verruca it's viral. Yeah. And some people may think it's a corn, but when I come to examine your feet, that's when we'll be able to tell, is it a verruca or is it a corn? If it's a corn will be removed right there and then. Also, a verruca we will remove it, but it has to be treated. And this treatment, I will treat it, and then I will come back to you again, and we will treat it again. It's about 3 courses before we can fully remove. Hopefully, it goes away.
Is it more yeah?
It's viral. Sorry.
No. I was going to say, is it more difficult to treat verrucas as opposed to corns?
Oh, very much so.
Okay. So what's a corn?
A corn is when friction to shoes, people walking without slippers on hard floors. So you get buildup of callus.
Right.
Yeah. So callus builds up. It's like we can have soft corns, hard corns, or root. There's a root in there, so we scalpel everything off, and the root comes out. It may occur again, but then we have to see, is it the shoes we're wearing?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, I want you to be proud of me, Rani. I think I've got really nice looking feet. However, My bugbear is that on my left foot, on my third toe, at the top, I've got this round, what I think is a corn, and I will often use a nail cutter to take it off.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that. But it goes away, and then, but it leaves that, I hate that circle-looking thing.
Okay, but you don't want to be using equipment, to cut into your skin that hasn't been sterilized.
That's true. That's true.
Because you don't want to get any other infection. Yeah.
But can that be gotten rid of?
If it's looked after, yes.
Okay, so I've got to look after it. It's not just like I'm going to wish it.
It's not something that I'm going to come and remove for you and it's going to disappear. Or even if I come to remove the callus off the heels, and it's going to go, that's it, it's going to stay like that forever. Unless you don't look after it, it's going to all come back again.
Okay, so we've got the summers coming up in the spring, and I love wearing strappy sandals. So I just want to heed to you listeners as well. Don't you dare look at my feet when I'm out and about and I meet you, okay? Because this was something that I needed to raise. It came on as a light bulb. Right, so you do remove verrucas.
Yes, I do remove verrucas.
Fabulous. And I've got such an adorable message here. Love you, Nano, from Iman and Husna. Use my Nano for all your foot care needs. So we've got actually a shout out from your granddaughters there.
I love you guys too.
Which is amazing. And I bet they've got beautiful feet.
Right now they do.
Of course they do.
Wait till they grow up and start wearing bad shoes.
Well, we've got Peterborough's Foot Queen right here in the studio. Why wouldn't they? And I've got here, welcome, Dr. Azhar Chaudhry. Hi, Rani. Great show. Keep it up.
Thank you very much.
It's great that we have all of you on board. So thank you so much. Right. Fabulous question here. I didn't realize this was going to be so popular, but I'm so happy. Jason. Right. Also, what is the best way of self-care for ingrowing toenails?
First of all, we need to get it removed.
Okay, so how do we do that?
You call me.
Okay, so you remove toenails as well?
I remove ingrown toenails, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that painful?
It's more painful having the ingrown than it is to remove it.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you give a local anaesthetic?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh, God,
as
you just yank it out?
As soon as it's removed, you will know the relief of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it painful removing it a little bit?
It is. It may be at the time a little bit, but the relief that you get once it's removed does not compare to the pain that you were having.
Great. So the best way is to get it removed. But how would you prevent it in the first place?
Don't wear shoes that are too small for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the case of ingrown toenails. A lot of women get ingrown toenails from wearing pointy shoes.
Oops. No, I've got my boots on today.
You got your boots on today, Dr. Shabina.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there is people that unfortunately just get ingrown toenails.
Like my husband. So my husband, once upon a time, I'm going to share this story with anyone. He's not going to be grateful to me for it because I'm going to go home to him after this. But he was going to give his professional exams, and he suffered from ingrowing toenails throughout his life, and that ingrowing toenail was embedding into his great toe.
Oh, okay.
He's got big fleshy great toes. I'm just going to reveal that. But look, Rani said that all feet are beautiful, so his are as well. Let me have you know.
Yes, of course.
And he said that they burst, obviously, because they were so pus-filled and everything, and it was so incredibly painful that he had to get them removed and antibiotics and everything.
Okay, I have come across a gentleman who was like this, and can I say, he was Asian, and he did one of the worst things you can do. Somebody told him to put haldi on his toe. I'm sorry if he's listening and I've had to mention it.
But people put haldi
not
on
put
most
haldi
things,
on it.
actually,
Yeah.
when it's inflamed, because they think it's an anti-inflammatory, but not in that way.
So he kept going back to the doctors and they kept giving him antibiotics. He had to go back to work. He had the steel toe shoes
Oh, my
that he
goodness.
had to wear. He was in a lot of pain. And he came to me. We removed his ingrown toenail. It went away. About 2 months later, he calls me back up again. He's in pain.
Oh, dear.
He's gone back to his doctors, had antibiotics, and he wanted me to have a look at his toe. When I looked at it, I realized I couldn't do much more for him. So
Oh.
I had to refer him to the NHS podiatry.
Wow.
Where he went and they assessed him and they had to remove his full nail. I haven't got the authority. I cannot remove the full nail and do nail surgery. I can only go as far as remove the ingrown toenail.
I understand. So that's a difference. So
Yeah.
if any of you have like a really bad case of ingrowing toenail, then Rani can remove it only up until where it's ingrown.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Jason is saying thank you, Rani, with a big heart. And also, Jason, just to clarify, haldi that Rani was referring to is actually turmeric. So a lot of people think because it's a powerful, which it is, it's a powerful anti-inflammatory, but making a pack out of it and putting it on skin that is infected is exactly not really the best of ideas. So yeah, we don't want to see that again, do we?
No.
So that was really, that I find that really interesting that, you know, you can then obviously go to someone. The other thing I want to ask you, when I was little, we were taught in primary school a bit about foot hygiene. And I was horrified to see how a normal toenail is as opposed to a toenail that shouldn't be cut in a particular way. So when I was little, I was always taught, cut your toenail all the way around. And then you
No.
see this picture of this toenail being cut straight across, square. And I thought, that can't be right, because that toe doesn't look like a toe. But it is,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So the key question here is also to cut your
this-
toes across.
That will prevent the ingrown as well.
Right.
Yeah. Because when we're cutting them round, then we're encouraging it to go into the skin.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
So you don't cut your toenails around everybody, because what will happen is that when it pushes up into the nail bed, obviously it will catch the margins.
Yeah. And also we don't, I've seen many people cut their toenails so far back.
Yes.
Yeah. We've got the skin underneath our nails. Our nail should be sitting on top of that. Yeah.
Not all the way back,
Not all the way back.
because you can get infections with that as
Definitely,
well.
yes.
Can't you?
You can.
And I'd like to ask you, some of the questions that have come to me before the show are people saying that you see a lot of what we call hypertrophic or very abnormally grown toenails that
Yes.
sort of, accumulate, have a very bad discoloration to them, are opaque,
Yeah.
and they're not fungal infections. Are those toenails, like we spoke
Yeah.
about before, only as a result of the shoe rubbing on the surface of the toenail, or can something happen? Trauma, for example.
Trauma, even medications. Medication. When people call me to look at their nails and they'll apologize, which they never have to apologize for, nobody chooses for their nails to become like that. I say that all the time, over and over again. Unfortunately, it happens. And we can help them so that they don't get worse.
Sure.
We may never be able to get them back to what they naturally were like, but we can help them so that they don't get worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, which is reassuring. So, say somebody's got that big lumpy toenail.
Yes.
And there are lots of people that have asked me this question. Would you file them down? Is that what you do?
I would assess it. I would clean all around the nail bed. I would trim and I would burr. We have a drill that we use to burr that nail down. I would go down as far as to when the living nail comes out, so that we remove only the dry nail at the top.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we would treat that until the next time. So every time I go back to my patients, we will burr that down a little bit more and a little bit more.
That's a good point. It's very good, interesting insight actually that you give. The other question that I have been asked is before the show, because people were waiting for this, which is wonderful, is that those people that have mobility problems, obviously, and have to look after themselves and don't have much in the way of people caring for them, what's the best way for them to keep their feet clean in the way of washing? Is there a certain method, or would they have to sit in the bath? Because obviously they would, what's the best way? Would you soak in water, put salt in? What would you do?
The best way to keep your feet in a good condition is to, I would say, regular bathing, and always make sure that you don't walk around without shoes on. Always have slippers on. Always wear even pair of socks.
Wow.
You know, the bed socks, but please don't walk around bare feet. Young or elderly, don't walk around with bare feet. I know people say, oh, it's nature, God made us like this, but God has asked us to look after our feet as well.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Especially with all the conversation that we've had.
Yeah, and especially those people that are diabetic. For them to walk around without shoes on is so very dangerous.
Yes.
I've heard of people who have had Lego pieces stuck underneath their feet and they don't even know. Because you know what happens with diabetes.
Yep.
People lose feeling underneath their feet.
Yes, that's right. So that's a really key point from Rani, that if you're diabetic especially, it is important that you wear some footwear, because if you were to injure your foot or step on something, you won't have the same sensation as a person without diabetes would, and thus you are more prone to infection. And if you are a diabetic and you do get an infection, it's more difficult to treat you as well. So that's very important. I must say I fall foul of, I walk bare feet at home because I like native and I love and I do so in the summer, and I walk outside in the grass. And, you know, I've been even as absurd. This was in my young days in London. I'd walk to the corner shop and not wear.
Oh, please don't.
Look, there's a part of me that many people don't know, you know. There's a story. But yeah, but no, I won't do that anymore.
No, please
and
don't.
I won't encourage, especially if my children are listening, because I just think that that's terrible. And we have Asim sniggering in the background because he thinks that it's totally absurd the way I used to be. Well, we've changed now and life has gone on. But that's great. So we've spoke about a few medical problems. Fungal infections, how do they sort of, in your experience, do you see much fungal infections of the nail?
I do see fungal infections of the nail. We go through the same assessment of trimming and burring the nails and treating it. And then I usually give the best plan for the individual. Yeah. There's different treatments, and we see which is the best treatment for that individual.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fungal infection. It's not just in your nails. If we don't look after those shoes, we'll catch it again.
Yes.
And, you know, the socks that we're wearing, they've got to be washed on a very high temperature. Otherwise, we're going to put those socks back on again. While we're treating the fungals, we're bringing it back to our feet.
That's very important. And that's something
it's like an ongoing thing then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things that actually a lot of clinicians don't refer to. Washing your socks or what you wear on your feet on very high temperatures. And the reason why that's important is because you're introducing the infection again.
And can I also say, especially in our community, with our community and the praying and people doing wuzu and going into the bathrooms, please, I'd advise everybody to have their own like flannel or small towel kept in the bathroom, so that once you've done wuzu, please use your individual towels to clean your feet. I know some people will say to me, but it's swab to not dry your feet. Please dry your feet. Allah Ta'ala would want you to dry your feet so that you don't carry infections and spread them to anybody else in the family. I have been to families where everybody in the family has got infections on their feet, the same infection, because they're all spreading it to each other.
Very key message in the last 30 seconds of this show. Where is the time gone? Sister Rani, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Remember, listeners, Rani's Mobile Foot Care, she can be found on Facebook. She is wonderful and conscientious, and more than anything, she loves what she's doing. And it's been a delight having you on the show. It really has been.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Thank you. Until next time, listeners, join me again. Assalamu alaikum.